I'll just give one tonight. Maybe a second one real quick. We learned quite a while ago on this podcast not to really talk politics, and another no is talk religion, right? Everybody has their opinions on politics and religion, but I've come across the show. It's been out for a while and started watching it, and it's a 3 out of 3, and it's called The Chosen. I don't know if you obviously probably have heard about it. No, it's the story. It's the story of Jesus and his followers, but it's done in series fashion, and it kind of follows along to his story. I mean, I'm got to tell you guys, it's just fantastic. The way the actors are great. The actor that plays Jesus, it's amazing. I mean, it's kind of enlightened me a little bit, and it's really, really well done. You don't even have to be overly religious. You can be any religion there is. It's his story, as told in the New Testament, but it's very well written, very well acted. I can't say enough for it, man. Like I said, 3.0 on the 3-point scale.
Where do you watch it?
I caught it first, season 1 on Netflix. It's still on Netflix. And all 3 seasons so far are on Prime, and they've got a 4th season coming out here shortly. So you can catch up on the first 3 seasons on either Netflix or Prime.
Yeah. And not making like a statement here or anything, but is the show, you said, is it pushing religion, or is it just like telling the story?
It's telling the story.
Right. Because I was going to say that would turn some people off if it was like, we're trying to push you into religion. If it's just telling the story, then that could be, really, really interesting.
It's especially if you have a background, you kind of know what's happening. I'm not going to say I'm the world's most devout religious person, but I know the story of Jesus, and and there's been many stories that have been portrayed out there, like the Last Temptation of Christ, and the one that Mel Gibson did, which was real tough to watch. But this was well done. As like I said, it's the whole story. It kind of gives you the background of the apostles, how he met them, their backstory. It's really cool.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued.
I think you would like it, Jared. Yeah.
How slow are they? I mean, we know the ending of the story, so they're gonna keep pushing out seasons until they get to that point, or would you think they have a set number of seasons they're gonna have this show run?
No, I did look it up a little bit. They're gonna run it all the way up through the resurrection, but right now it's still planting the story of picking up apostles, dealing with the Romans, dealing with the different Pharisees, and seeing what really, at least to the author of this series, what went on behind the scenes. How it all came together and how he dealt with his following. I can't even give it enough praise. It's so well done.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely, no matter how you feel on the story or whatever, the story is super interesting.
It is.
Jesus Christ and everything. So
yeah, and if you give it a couple episodes, and I think you'll be sucked in for sure.
Right. I'll throw mine out real quick, and then Ted, if you have one, and then Matt, you mentioned you had a couple. Just real quick, just because it's in kind of a similar vein. I've heard that Lord of the Rings has a lot of it's a religious story essentially, where it's pulling. There's a lot of comparisons being made between Jesus' story or whatever religion. I'm guessing the Catholic or Christian version of Jesus' story.
Christian.
So like Lord of the Rings and how they have these 9 guys going on this adventure, Frodo getting compared to Jesus, all this stuff. So I gave Lord of the Rings a shot. I watched the first movie.
Oh wow.
Fellowship of the Ring. Pretty solid. I'll be honest. I get it. I get why people love it. I do. I'm gonna at this point I gotta watch the next 2 movies just to say I've watched them. But what blew me away, man, the CGI for 2000, I'm sure they've remastered it probably since then, but really no cheesy CGI scenes like I was expecting. It's impressive how they pulled that off. The battles are awesome. It's kind of constant action. The crew they assemble, you got Charlie from Lost, you got Rudy Aston, you got Frodo, you got a lot of other, Ned Stark from Game of Thrones in this, whatever, the crew of 9, Gandalf. I'm for it. I don't know where the story is going to leave or going to end after the 3rd movie, but I'm along for the ride. So this is part number 1 of Tedertainment of Lord of the Rings. 2.5 stars on Fellowship of the Ring.
Nice.
We'll see how I feel after the next 2.
It's funny that those come up. I don't think those have ever come up on Tedertainment Tonight, which is funny.
Are you guys fans? Have you seen them?
I am. So those were big. I'd be curious to hear what Ted says, but they were big when I was in high school, college, and you guys know I've said on here before, I'm not a big fantasy type of Star Wars, superhero movie type of guy, but Lord of the Rings, for some reason, I really like those. I've watched them a number of times. I haven't watched them in a really long time, so maybe this will make me want to fire them up again. But I mean, again, they're 3.5 almost. If you watch the extended cut, they're like 4-hour movies, so you've got to set aside some time. But I agree, super super well done, really interesting. I'd seen people draw comparisons to like the religious stories with the Lord of the Rings stories, but no, that's cool that you're getting into them. They're really good. Ted, have you seen them?
No, I mean, I've come across them on TV and checked out a scene here and there, but I haven't sat down and watched any of the movies in their entirety. So I'm kind of a little intrigued now too. I may have to put away some time and check it out myself. Sounds good.
They would definitely be ones like, because they're on TBS or like TNT a lot. Don't watch them there where you like just jump in the middle, like, because you would be lost.
Right.
You would want to just start from the beginning. So all the characters, the story and all that. So, but again, they're long movies. So
right.
The one thing, and don't spoil anything, Matt. The one thing that I'm kind of like, I guess I don't understand what the big deal is here. So this ring that makes you so powerful, at least in the first movie, when these guys are putting on the ring, it just makes them invisible. Like, what? This is so crazy power. What am I missing here? So I'll be curious to see how that is landed. But first thought, what the hell? It makes him invisible, basically does nothing else. Frodo throws the ring on, he still gets stabbed. It's like, I don't know. We'll see where it goes, but it's confusing to me, to say the least, at least to begin with. This ring that's supposed to be basically make you the most powerful person in the world, unable to die, it does nothing when you put it on. So we'll see.
I think you'll have a couple moments of like, okay.
And I was going to say,
that's what I figured.
Something that makes you invisible, that seems pretty powerful to me.
Right.
I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah, but I mean, you're not gonna rule the world by being invisible.
All right, that's fair.
I don't know. Like I said, I'm sure that I'm sounding dumb by people that have seen it, Matt. I'm sure, but that's at least my first movie watching. I don't get this ring. I don't get it, but it'll be explained.
Cool movies.
Very
cool movies.
The other one I got, I tweeted something about it. It was, if anybody out there is a Queen music fan, Queen with Freddie Mercury, I did go see, my wife and I went on a Friday night a couple of weeks ago over to Grand Blanc at the NCG Cinemas on the IMAX. And it was a concert in Montreal from 1981. It was the full Queen effect. The sound was unbelievable. They played all the hits. The only thing that was a little discerning with the IMAX screen was when they had close-ups of Freddie and his chompers, man.
Why are you always throw the chompers? You always throw the chompers. I remember your Queen review way back in the day. That was your biggest complaint as well. That's who he was.
It's not a complaint, but my goodness, he did have some teeth, man. It's a fact.
Yeah,
especially in the IMAX.
Exactly. But I will say this, despite that, if you want to call that a criticism, it was very well done. If you've never seen Queen in concert, this is about as close as you're going to get. So I'd give that one definitely 2.8 on the 3-point scale.
Kind of seems like a missed opportunity not doing more of those type of concerts. I mean, you said it, IMAX, movie theaters, the sound system, it's incredible. Seems like like they could do more of that.
I was thinking the same thing when I left, to tell you the truth. I mean, we know Taylor Swift had the whole thing out there, right? She went to the theaters. But if you wanted to go see some of these classic rock bands when they were young and at their best, what a way to do it.
Yeah, because they were recording them. So put them into a movie. Why not? It's probably some rights deals. There's probably some crazy rights deals and stuff with the publishing labels. But the couple I have before we get out of here. So the first one is just quick. We all love Hard Knocks. I don't know if you guys have seen. Actually, I didn't know that they were doing this. ESPN Plus, ever since 2020, has been doing a Hard Knocks style. It's called Inside the College Football Playoff. It's on ESPN Plus. It's like a 4-part series that follows all 4 teams that make the playoffs. And like I said, it's like Hard Knocks, where behind the scenes stuff, they follow them in practice, and they break down the games, interviews, and stuff. So, I mean, if you like Hard Knocks and you like the college football playoff, especially this year's with Michigan winning the national title. Like I did not go back and watch the one versus Georgia. I didn't even want to watch the one last year with the TCU game, but definitely watch this year's. It's just a cool 4-part, relive that college football playoff with Michigan, see some behind the scenes stuff at the Rose Bowl and then the national title game. If you have ESPN Plus, I would definitely recommend checking that out.
Heck yeah.
And then go ahead, Jared.
No, I think I actually, it's funny you mentioned last year's. I think I turned it on for like 5 minutes. I'm like, dude, this is gonna make me sick to my stomach. I can't watch this.
Yeah.
But I totally forgot about it. I need to watch it this year for sure.
Yeah, it's really well done. I wouldn't say, I mean, it's really well done for sure. I wouldn't say it's up there with Hard Knocks, but I would say, yeah, it's comparable. If you like Hard Knocks, you would like this. And then last one. So Kevin James, Grown Ups movies, King of Queens, comedian. I've always liked him. I just think he's really funny. I like King of Queens, and then some other movies and stuff that he's done. So he put out a new stand-up routine. It's on Amazon Prime. So if you have Amazon Prime, you can watch it. It's called Irregardless. I used to love his stand-up. There was one specifically called Don't Sweat the Small Stuff that came out when I was in college. And me and some of my roommates, we watched constantly. We still sometimes quote it. Just really funny. So when I saw he dropped this one, I was like, oh, yeah, I got to watch this. See if he still got it. It was okay. He had some good jokes. It's just funny. Even my wife and I commented a couple times like, man, is this like a joke? Like, is this serious? He comes off very much as grumpy old guy complaining about like the youth and politics and stuff. And I get maybe that's the whole bit. He's trying to come off like an old guy and doesn't like all the stuff with cell phones and stuff that his kids are doing and everything. So it wasn't as good as maybe his old stand-up, at least in my opinion. But if you like Kevin James and you got Amazon Prime, there's some good laughs. If you like stand-up comedy, there's some good laughs, but it was a little disappointing, to be honest with you.
I didn't know honestly, I never knew that he was a stand-up at one point. I guess I should have figured that was such a popular thing in his era and who he's friends with. It makes sense. But no, I always like Kevin James. I'm intrigued. I might maybe I'll watch the one from way back in the day that you mentioned that was maybe a little bit better. I always liked him. He gets some hate. I never understood why.
I've always thought he's really funny.
He was good in Paul Blart. Mall Cop, man. That was a classic movie. I did like
Queens, he was at his peak, man.
He was. Speaking of comics, I don't know if you guys know who Mike Birbiglia is, but he has some specials on Netflix, and he's one of my favorite comedians. I mean, he's just funny. The way he tells the story, he doesn't do the typical stand-up. He kind of weaves the whole story for his hour and a half that he's out there, but it's very funny and very well written. So there's another little tip for our listeners out there.